Hello, good morning. Hello, everybody out there. This is Doc. Um, I have a special episode here. Joining me today, he runs the AEW Match Guide. Uh, he's a very handsome, smart individual, hailing from Australia. This is Sir Sam. How you doing, sir?
You're too kind, Doc. I'm feeling really relaxed actually. I'm sitting back here, I'm having a tea and I'm hearing the beautiful all of the birds that are chirping in the background. I just need like someone with like a flute or a nice, Spanish guitar to sort of tinkle in the background and
Uh,
provide some background music and I'd be totally zen. It's
uh,
it's good to be here, mate. Thank you for having me.
oh yeah, man. It's a pleasure to have you. I don't really often get this opportunity to talk to someone in your part of the world, so I felt like it's my honor to get you on here, man, because I know like it's late over there, it's early over here, but I try to get uh I want to talk, and my mission statement for this has always been to talk to everybody from everywhere about how they became a fan. And my first question for you is, how did you become a fan of pro wrestling, man?
How did I become a fan of pro wrestling? It's a really interesting story. I'll kind of give some background to for those who don't know. I've spoken a bit about it on my podcast on the AW Match Guide, but for those who've never heard, obviously I'm from Australia. Wrestling in Australia is very niche. It's not quite the same as it is in America. To be a wrestling fan over here, obviously now with Netflix, it's a little bit different. Netflix is pretty widespread, but wrestling has pretty much since like the 70s always been, it's not been on commonly used TV. It's been on pay TV, which has market penetration of about 10 to 15% over here. So when I was growing up, I really didn't know much about wrestling beyond I had a couple of friends who had wrestling video games that I played every now and again, but
Yeah.
didn't really know much about it or anything that was going on. And I was aware of some of my friends really enjoyed wrestling, but it was nothing that I ever got into until one afternoon I was 19 years old. I was at university, and it was a Sunday afternoon. And when it's a Sunday afternoon and you're at university, generally you don't have much on.
Hmm.
You've got a lot of time, and on the TV channel that I was watching, a 1 hour SmackDown like preview, not review show. So it was like the highlights of SmackDown, sort of truncated into an hour. And
Yeah.
I saw a match between Batista and the Great Khali.
Oh.
And I don't know what it was about that, but something got me into it. Like I really, I was intrigued by what I was seeing, and I was drawn into what was going on. I think Batista was having a feud with Edge at the time. This was 2008, so it was in between. The Edge had that epic sort of feud with the Undertaker over that period, but at that
Yeah.
moment, the Undertaker had been banned from being on SmackDown. He'd been sent away by Vicky Guerrero, and Edge in the meantime was having sort of temporary to feud with Batista,
Yeah.
and he had to. I think he had to beat Khali, if I'm remembering right. I think he had to beat Khali, or he wouldn't get his championship match against Edge at the pay per view, which was coming in a week's time or so. And I don't know, there was something about it that drew me in,
Right.
and I became, and that's how I've told this story before, and someone told me, look, that's how you were meant to be a fan of wrestling, Sam, because a random SmackDown main event between Batista and the Great Khali, you saw that and you were like, this is for me. And if you could see that and think this is for me, then you're really going to be into wrestling. And
Hey,
turns out they
bro.
were right.
So one of the philosophies of the great giant Baba is pro wrestling is a clash between two giant bodies. That was a philosophy passed down to him from Ricky Dozan. So like, WWE is the land of the giants. So having like, you know, Batista and Khali is those are two big bodies. I mean, they're gonna be clashing.
Very big bodies, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I remember that because I'm a Batista guy. Uh, I you got into it at 19 years old, and that's interesting. But being aware of it through the video games is also like that's been a story I've been hearing like so many times. So like
Oh, look,
you're a good company, man.
when I say being aware of it, when I say being aware of it, I mean I may have played maybe like 4 or 5 times, and I
Uh,
didn't know anything about how wrestling was or wasn't fake. I just thought it was, we may as well have been playing Tekken or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Like I did not know anything about the artifice of wrestling. I think the thing I think that got me with wrestling was growing up. I inhabited a bit of a weird space
mm,
in regional Australia. Regional Australia is where I grew up. So in the sort of like an agricultural town. Well, the town has about 20,000 people, so not a tiny town, but relatively small, and fairly conservative. A
yeah.
little bit backwards, honestly. Not a lot of culture going on there. And I was a bit of an enigma because I was into two things. I was very sporting and I was athletic. I swam a lot. I did like I ended up I was quite a fast swimmer and quite a good swimmer, so I was very fit. And I played a lot
Mm,
of rugby as in rugby union in the winter. So I was always in the like I hung out with the I guess the jocks at school you'd call them. We just called them the footy boys.
uh,
I hung out with those guys at school, but at the same time I also did like musicals and I did
uh,
speech and drama. And I think wrestling is sort of an amalgamation of those two things, and I think
yeah.
that's what sort of spoke to me. It's got like that that sporting athletic
Uh,
competition, but it is live theater at the same time. And
yeah.
I don't know, like as I said, I'd never got into it before, and when I was watching it for the first time, I didn't know. Like I had an inkling of like, oh, this is like not real because I'd seen an MMA fight
Yeah.
before that. So I knew that this isn't real, but at the same time, I was like, oh, but you know, how much is not real, like, and
Yeah.
how much is. So I didn't know any of that stuff when I started seeing it, but I could see the blend of like that theater, live entertainment, athleticism. Obviously, but Batista, he stood out to me at first. He was kind of like, him and Edge were sort of my first favorite wrestlers,
Yeah.
because seeing Batista, I loved like his intensity, how pumped up he was.
Yeah.
I was a 19-year-old bloke. I was pretty impressed by his physique as well. And Edge, I was very impressed by like the charisma.
Yeah.
And when I started to learn about, oh, this guy he's really good at being a bad guy. Okay, got it. Yeah, so I think it was those two sort of blending things together that is what made me a fan of wrestling so quickly, because it combined two things that I very much loved.
Yeah. I think that's a. I know, like, Music Man had the term because to avoid paying taxes in different areas in America, because but
Indeed.
sports entertainment, or as Matt Menard would say, sports entertainment is like is just like a phrase that like covers it, and like like it
Yep.
fits so perfectly. And I never found that to be a bad word for me, because like it's like, yeah, that that pretty much describes what pro wrestling is, because like it is sport. Don't get me wrong, it the athleticism, the risk, all that stuff. You need a base level of physical acumen to be able to do this stuff, but like you also need that entertainment side in order to bring the fans in, and you're telling a story, and you're whether that be to the people in the arena or the people watching at TV, they're watching you perform and you're telling a story, you're painting a picture for people. Um, and yeah, that's a pretty cool thing, man. You
Mm.
know, I like hearing this because like well, I'm always interested for people who get into it at in their adult age, because my little sister, my sister-in-law, she I've been watching it. Whatever pops on TV, she thought it was real. I think she still thinks it's real. So, and she's 30 years old now, so it,
Uh, my my family don't know the difference. Like I talk to my wife, I like mention it to my wife, and I also at one point I was really into MMA. I actually wrote about MMA for a while for a website, an Australian website.
nice.
I now train Muay Thai, and my immediate family members don't know the difference. They're like, I'll mention wrestling and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that like that's in a cage, right?" Oh no, 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 no! I'm talking about like the fake wrestling. Oh, that one, but they just don't really know the difference at all.
Yeah.
I think they don't know which parts are real and which aren't, and yeah, they're bemused by it because they just think, well, what's this dumb thing that Sam's gotten himself into?
You mentioned you're doing Muay Thai, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like there's like a palpable, and you were writing about MMA. There is a crossover between MMA fans and wrestling fans because it's kind of the same thing, especially like if you started with like say Pride or even UFC because like they have the
Mm.
entrances, they have the promos, they got everything. Well, and then like except for the fixed fight part, but like I mean sometimes the fight is
Oh,
fixed,
in Pride,
and yeah, but you,
there's some weird finishes in Pride. I can tell you that,
oh
and
yeah,
there's some pro wrestlers who are fighting in Pride that
oh yeah,
you know.
shout
You
out
never know
Marco
what's
Man and
happening
Takada.
there.
Oh man, it goes back a little bit further because even like in Pancrase, you have Minoru
Yeah,
Suzuki
true.
having
Yep.
being the king of Pancrase, and let me just
Yep.
say like he was also the booker, so still the king to me.
Yep.
There's like, and then when it comes to like uh, fight game, because and then like even interest, so like I know like a lot of like because I used to train martial arts, I used to train BJJ, all that stuff, Muay Thai. There's there's always guys there that also watch wrestling, and I happen to also be in the same class as like Scorpio Sky, who I would watch in
Oh, cool.
PWG and all this. So like there is a palpable like crossover between them because it's sort of the same thing but not the same thing, but like one thing can help the other thing. As we've seen with some wrestlers, like say like Danielson or Zack Sabre or like even like Aleister Black,
Hmm.
or sometimes like it kind of like gives us stuff like Mox.
Yeah. Honestly, I think they're sort of like I believe that they've sort of worked it out. But I feel like for most of the 2010s, I would see wrestlers trying to look like they're doing MMA fights, and it just looks bad.
Yeah,
Like I never really I don't love the hybrid style so much, except for when it's executed really
yeah,
extremely well. I think there's an uncanny valley there that just like totally destroys my sense of disbelief because I know what like of course when you're watching pro wrestling like you know what it is. But at the same time if they're trying to make it look like they're doing a real fight, you know what a real fight looks like as well. Like I'll
yeah.
tell you, I'll give you an example from a wrestler that I love. Eddie Kingston in a match against Bryan Danielson, he opens up and he's like pretending that he's striking Muay Thai, and it
Mm.
looks so bad.
His
Like it just
striking
looks terrible. And I love Eddie Kingston with all my heart, and like I hope he becomes the AEW champion at some point.
yeah,
But when he's done that, and he's done it in a few matches, it does not look good. And for the most part, like the grappling guys, you know, like your Jonathan Greshams and those sorts of guys, most of the time, I think they look terrible. Like
but oh
I hate
man,
watching them pro wrestle. It's like if I wanted to watch a grappling tournament, I'd go and I'd watch the UFC or I'd watch a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu tournament. I wouldn't watch
yeah.
fake grappling.
Yeah, my
Like,
God. There's some when they so like we call it there is a way to work submissions.
I
We
100% agree. Like your Zack
we
Sabre Juniors, your
yeah,
Danielsons,
and to make it
they
like
get it.
yeah, you could like I mean the perfect example is this year Goto and Saber, and Saber looks like he's torturing Goto and everybody's living or
Hmm,
dying for every like submission hold he's putting on him, transitioning to like getting even more and more limbs and grabbing a neck and all that, and everybody is just like, oh shit, he's gonna tap, and go to
hmm,
lift your ropes, and you're like, oh hell yeah. But sometimes you
hmm.
get like say like Gresham, and like his arms and legs are too thick and too short to lock anything in, and he chose to make his finisher an octopus, and he can't
Yep.
get that on anybody. It looks so
Hmm,
loose and so and like that's my problem is everything looks so loose with the when you try to make it look real, but
yep.
like you could see like so many holes in their games, And when it comes to Eddie Kingston, I know like I'm kind of known for like kind of shitting on him for like trying to do like Kawada style kicks or anything like, and he and when he throws a teep or when he throws like a leg kick or like when he tries to throw like hands and like commentators like selling him as like a he's a Muay Thai expert. He has some of the best striking and like he KOs Brian with one of the sloppiest backhands, spinning back fist, and I'm like, ah, bro. And he's been doing that for his whole career, the spinning back fist. But there's something gregarious about his kicking and what he's trying to convey with that. Because like, I mean, you could do Muay Thai forever. You could have been doing it forever, and good on you. And you could have like fast hands, but like, there's an execution of it where you're just like, ugh, like,
Well, he apparently has had a fight. Like I don't know if it's real or not, but I was listening to an interview and he said he's had like a proper Muay Thai fight, which is more than I've done, to be
yeah,
fair. It's more just the thing that got me was he when he opened up in his stances and they were like trading leg kicks and it looked yeah, and yeah, I don't like that when you can see them offering up arms and just seamlessly transitioning between moves. That's the time I don't particularly care for it. For the most part, I don't mind Eddie Kingston strikes like the back fist. I'm happy with. Like I don't have a problem with that, particularly when he's delivering it to Sam Punk.
oh yeah, that's his apex. I wish he would wrestle like that all the time. He throws
Oh
a back
yeah,
fist,
yeah.
plays over the guy, and then they just brawl. Because his
Mm.
specifically his working punches are phenomenal. It reminds me a lot
His
about
chops are pretty amazing as well. I reckon. Like
yeah
I like his chops,
yeah. There's
and he.
just stick to that, and like it's like
Mm.
or like when a guy's down, stomping him in the face. That's the Eddie I grew up on, and like it's
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
but
No one sells like Eddie Kingston, and
yeah
just like grits his teeth like Eddie
yeah,
Kingston.
and like even the wrestling is like second to his character work and his promos. Like
Mm.
uh, he's phenomenal. I hope when he comes back, because like now in AEW, we know that age does not matter. So like him being like 42 still puts him on the younger end of what the main event scene is.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of times we get to this point about like pro wrestling and like entertainment and in Australia, I think you guys don't really get that many shows. So my question is, have you ever been to a live event? Has it been to the indies over there, or like whenever WWE or I think AEW had a show there this year? Have you gone to a live event, man?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been to a few live events.
Nice.
I've I'll split that up because there's been like I've been to a WWE live event over here, which was really cool.
Yeah,
I went to Grand Slam earlier. I actually did a podcast on that, so that was earlier this year. And I have been to some local indies here. We've got a pretty decent indie
yeah,
scene here in Australia. So the first pro wrestling event I ever went to was Hunter Valley Wrestling (HVW), and it's one of my favorite wrestling memories. Actually, one of my best friends from uni, he was a wrestler as well. We sort of
nice.
became after I got into wrestling. Our paths crossed, and it came out that he was a wrestler, and I was like, okay, well, I got to talk to this bloke, and him and I end up becoming really great friends. Like we lived together at one point, and he busted. So this was in like 2012. He like busted his knee, like in wrestling in some rinky dink place that the ring collapsed on him and he broke his knee. He
Damn.
completely screwed up his knee. He couldn't walk for like 6 months because the ring was shit and it broke. And anyway, he gets told by the doctor he's never going to wrestle again, and he's one of the people that he trained originally with then starts up Hunter Valley Wrestling, and he starts helping out as just a ring announcer.
Mm.
But after a year there, he ends up on a like a title a path towards the title. And on their first year anniversary show, he won the championship, and that was the first live wrestling show I'd ever been to. So that was pretty amazing to go to. It's still like one of my favorite wrestling memories was seeing him. One of my best friends, legitimately in real life, overcoming what he thought was something he'd always dreamed of, being a pro wrestler, and he got told he'd never get to do it again. And, it is only, an indie title over here, but, it may as well have been the World Heavyweight Championship for how much of an accomplishment it felt like him winning that. So, yeah. And apart from that, I've been to, like, there's a pretty decent promotion, Newcastle Pro Wrestling. Hunter Valley Wrestling's now closed, but there's a couple of other ones around Newcastle, which is where I live. It's just north of Sydney. And then in Sydney, there's some promotions as well. I've seen New Japan's toured Australia a few times, and I've gone to see them a couple of times. So I've seen, like, I was lucky enough to see. I've seen Okada twice. I've seen Ospreay here twice. The New Japan shows. I've seen. I even saw Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody when they came over here in 2018. Just after Omega had done the Jericho feud, they sort of had a tour here in Australia and came over. And Cody was stirring the pot with the Bullet Club is Fine and getting booed out of the arena while Kenny Omega was getting a hero's worship. And then. I as I said, I also went to a WWE show, and I got to see Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose, that's one of my favorite rivalries of all time. They had a steel cage match at that, so that was awesome. I went to that WWE show, having not really watched a lot of WWE at the time. Like, I was sort of focusing on other things, just and tangentially. And I knew who the top stars were, but they also had guys like Finn Balor, and I'd never seen Finn Balor wrestle before. And him and Neville had a match. Now Pac had a match at that, and I was like, "Whoa, these guys are insane!" So. Yeah, and then, of course, Grand Slam. Look, I did a whole podcast about that earlier this year. That was an absolutely incredible experience, having never seen AEW live and being such a massive fan of the company and just wanting to see that, wanting to experience the live show with AEW, and then finally getting the chance to, and just having the most amazing day. Well, it was a bit of a heart and mouth day because of some other reasons, with Australian Airlines trying to cancel my ticket to fly up there and all this bullshit that went around. But, by the time I got up there and had a couple of beers in me and was sitting in the arena and watching Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay come out to face Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, I was just rabid, absolutely rabid, and the crowd was so insane. And so into it, which was amazing to see. They said they're coming back next year, and I really hope they do. I can't wait to go up there and see them again.
I love that for you, man. There's something about attending a live event that just brings out, like, your, like, I don't
I
know
agree.
if
Yeah.
it's like a visceral thing, but, like, you just having the experience and seeing the guys live perform in front of you, and it's just like a different thing. Because, like, you can bring anybody that's not a fan. I mean, for the most part, and you just tell them, watch a show, and, like, taking it in, and, like, that person who's not a fan will get it better than just watching it on TV. Because, I mean, it's rare that someone just sees it on TV at your age and says, like, okay, I'm gonna watch this. And
Mm.
so, like, having that live event feeling, and it's remarkable. There's something about it that's preferable for me than watching it on the TV. Because, like, a credit card, you're still out there, you're still in the environment, and you're still like out, you're living it. That's how I feel.
Mm.
That's just how I feel.
I mean, it's like seeing a band live, right? There's like
Yeah,
an energy that goes with it because you've got the crowd and everyone's there, like, wanting to see this and cheering and giving it energy and into it. And it means you can get swept up more easily, particularly in, like, the emotions of, that the performers are trying to channel. You can get swept up in it so much more readily when you're seeing it live than when you're, watching it on TV or something, watching it on a screen by yourself.
yeah,
And even, I mean, you also, I think you respect. I think there's you have an increased respect for the performers' abilities as well, seeing it in real life. Like even, we talked MMA before. I remember the first time I went and saw an MMA fight, and I was literally sitting cage side. I had media seats and I was sitting cage side, and I was like, holy shit, the way that the punches sound when they land is totally different from anything I thought.
Yeah,
Like, because it's, it's just a different experience. It's, you said visceral, which I think is right.
yeah,
Like you can feel it, and you've, as I said, like the energy of the crowd can just sweep you up in what's going on in the ring more readily than what it can when you're sitting at home.
yeah. That's beautiful, man. I couldn't have said it better myself. Um, I'm gonna get a little bit of soapboxy here. So you do the AEW match guide.
Go on, go for
So you do
it.
the AEW match guide. I love it. I love like you cover a match and you know you like go into detail about blah blah blah. And then you're also telling me that you first got into WWE and all this stuff, and you loved go and you went to the WWE house show. When it comes to pro wrestling, especially nowadays, but all the way since like the 80s and stuff, there's been this tribalism between fandoms. And for me, I find that to be a little bit irritating because one side could do shitty stuff, the other side could also do shitty stuff, and that doesn't mean that since one side does something shitty, that makes it better because it's less shitty than what the other company is doing. I'm like, if that's shitty and this is shitty, then they're both shitty. That's how I feel. Or if one thing is good and the other company is also doing something good, why are we comparing them about how good they are? Can't we all just enjoy whatever we're enjoying? Or is that like you can't do that? You can't enjoy something without talking down the other thing. And this applies to a lot of stuff, but in particular for me, wrestling, this is a very annoying thing that I keep reading on, whether it be Discords or Reddit or forums. It's just,
Mm,
or especially like on those YouTube essays about what's good and what's not good. I'm just like, I just enjoy what I enjoy, and I don't judge people for what they watch. That's because what I hate to do is, I mean, I complain about stuff. I know I do. It's easy. It's fun. That's part of the fandom is complaining. But to like completely shit on somebody just for being a fan of like say a company or a certain style, that never sits right with me whenever I'm reading that stuff. And it only leads to like somebody having like a feeling bad. And like I never want people
yeah,
to feel bad about what they like. Unless it's unless it's something really gross and really bad and racist and bigoted. No, you can't like that. I mean, you can,
yeah,
but I don't. I'm not gonna fuck with you if you're like that. So
yeah. Well, look, that's a very mature take to take. I'll say to start off with. And look, I try and have that sort of philosophy, and I think in my best moments, I do like always try and think, look, what this person, number one, like it's just entertainment.
yeah,
Why would I get mad at someone's entertainment? But look, I'm no saint. I
yeah,
am
same.
I'm equally prone to the sort of tendencies that you know some of the most toxic people around wrestling and around the the discourse of wrestling,
Yeah,
they just live in that world. And look, from time to time, I've dipped my toe in and out. I try not to, but it's easy to get sucked into these things. And I certainly think, particularly early on when AEW was much newer as a company and it hadn't I guess, yeah, I had a much more, how would I say, a, a much more naive take on it, I guess, or
uh-huh.
maybe it was just AEW was a new thing, right? And I remember the thing that I remember clearly was, so if you go back to when I first met the guys from Social Suplex, like Rich and Jeremy, it was on the old Lords of Pain forums. I'm not sure if you ever heard of the website Lords of
Oh
Pain. It's
yeah,
an old
that's where I
wrestling,
first heard
a
about
wrestling.
Imp.
Sorry.
That's where I first heard Imp.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, and that's where I met Imp as well. And Rich, Jeremy, and I, and Imp as well, were writing on this on the forum, and I was actually like a big WWE cheerleader at the time.
Mm. I mean, so we're
And then
so we're
and so.
so were Rich and James. So and Jeremy.
Oh, I'd
They
say,
all
I'd
loved
say
it.
those guys less so than me. You could talk to them about that, but him,
Yeah,
it's funny. Richard James and I had some disagreements back in the day, and but yeah. Anyway, look, so I made some friends there that were
yeah,
like huge WWE fans, and I remember when AEW came around, I was immediately into AEW, and I was like very much on the side of
yeah,
AEW when it came to things like NXT sort of trying to usurp the Wednesday night and WWE putting up against NXT. I was like very much like I was out. I wasn't interested. 2019. I lost interest in WWE, and part of that was me just being like, these guys want to stifle this competition. Fuck them. I
yeah,
don't like them.
yeah,
I'm anti AEW. I'm anti. Sorry, I'm anti WWE.
yeah,
And I remember when Brody Lee passed, I like wrote some things, and one of those old friends that I'd made on the forum, just reached out to me, and he was like, "Dude, just take a breath and think about what you've just written there." And I was like, oh shit, this guy just died. Like, this guy's died, and I'm using that as like a cudgel in this tribalistic war. I think that's the worst. Like, for me, that's the worst
yeah,
thing I've ever written on
yeah,
online, and I really regret it. I deleted those posts. I regret it. It was a dumb thing to like, and I wasn't saying anything terrible. I think I was just being like, oh, this is like the way WWAW's handled this shows WWE for like up for the whatever
yeah.
they are, and
You
it
were
was
one of many
like
who wrote that article, man, and that you showed
I
the maturity to look at it and just
yeah.
that says something about your character, and I gotta say
Yeah, look,
kudos to
but
you, man.
what I'm saying though is I'm no saint in this, so
Yeah,
I can totally
yeah,
understand the impulse to really enjoy something, like and almost identify a little bit with it, and have like get so much enjoyment out of it that you see attacks on it as potentially attacks on yourself, or as something that you need to combat because you feel like this is important to you, and so I need to show you why this is important and why you're wrong potentially, and why I'm right. I can understand that impulse, and I don't like, and as I said, like in my best moments, and I think most of the time I manage to just take a deep breath and go,
yeah,
nope, I'm just going to let it sit. But then there's times where I've certainly given into that sense because I think like we're human, and
yeah,
that like that tribal the word tribalism is just so tossed around now, but it became it came back to the fore in terms of people using it as part of discourse,
yeah,
because a guy called Sebastian Junger wrote a book about tribes, and he he like articulated very well the sense that we have, where we have groups, and that's a natural thing. And for many,
yeah.
many millions of years, we had little groups, and the people who weren't in those groups were actually dangerous to us. And so we're disposed to identify with the people that are around us that agree with us, that we have a shared culture and shared beliefs and understanding in. And we see the people outside of that as dangerous, like,
Hmm.
and maybe even subconsciously, and so we are far more likely to dehumanize them, to attack them, and to think that it's okay to do those things. So, like, I can see where, and that doesn't excuse it, that doesn't make it right, but it
Yeah,
just sort of
it's
explains how
human
it
nature.
happens.
It's in
Yeah,
human nature.
exactly.
But I feel
Yeah,
like once you reach out to the other side and once you come to a what's it called, an understanding,
yeah,
it's better. And
agreed.
that's what the
Yeah,
things like going on the forums or discords is. You have this interaction with all these different personalities and you're able to express like feelings for each other and the connection that
yeah,
we all have. Well, I'm here in America, you're there in Australia, but we both love pro wrestling. So
yeah.
I find that connection with everybody I've been talking to, and that's just like cool to me that somebody in New South Wales could be like, yeah, I love seeing Batista like spine buster this guy and throw a layer. And I like seeing AEW and watching this match happen. If like that's always like fun to me, and that's always like That's always an in to talk to somebody and like get in and just like make a new friend or what have you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man.
I
So
always find it interesting when you see someone who's wearing a wrestling shirt
yeah,
and you bring it up, particularly here in Australia, because as I said, like it's far more neat. I don't know. I went to America in like 2015,
yeah,
and I was only there for a short amount of time, and it was in New York, so I don't think I got a really good sense of what America is. But I say so when I make this generalization, I say that knowing that I'm just kind of going off what my impression is of America. But I feel like wrestling is way more niche in Australia.
mm,
And when you see someone in a wrestling shirt and you like bring it up, you kind of do a weird dance where you're like, I wonder how far into things this guy is.
yeah,
Like, is this guy? He's wearing a WWE shirt. Is he just like? Does he just like watch WrestleMania once a year? Like, his shirt is an Undertaker shirt, right? Like
yeah.
that could mean so many things. Maybe he was into the Undertaker when he was a kid and he doesn't watch anymore. And you're like, oh, nice shirt, man. Do you still watch wrestling? No, I don't. Or I do. If they say yes, and then you're like, okay, what wrestling do you watch? And you're
Yeah,
like trying to like see how deep can we go with this? Because
yeah.
I know how deep, I know how far down the rabbit hole I am, and I don't want to freak this guy out by immediately being like, "Oh, do you watch AEW Collision? did you see the Did you see the latest? Did you see Goto versus Zack Sabre Jr. from New Japan Pro Wrestling? Did you see the most recent Stardom? Like, you've got to like judge how far they are in
Oh
before, and
man,
you do like a weird dance before you before you come to like, okay, this is the platform we're going to talk on. This is the level we're going to be talking on.
oh man. Your mate Sam talking about wrestling. Hey, so yeah, that's excellent. I usually like to end my meals, my dinners with dessert, and I'm having a question for you, man. What's your favorite dessert?
What's my favorite dessert? Oh man, that's such an interesting question because I honestly like I don't really like dessert that much. If I was chatting to someone at work about this a couple of days ago, actually, we were
Yeah.
like, if you go to a place that has entrees, mains, and desserts, and you can only have two, you don't get to see you don't get to see the menu. What are you going to pick? And I was like, look, every time I go entree and main, I'll skip dessert.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, savory. I'm generally over savory over sweet. But if I had to pick something, I would have a pavlova.
Oh,
Do you know what a pavlova is, Doc?
explain to me. I know Pavlov's dogs, but I don't know what a pavlova is.
No, so pavlova is an Australian, well, disputedly Australian disc. The New Zealanders, the Kiwis, they claim that they invented it.
Okay.
Australia claims Australia invented it as a tribute to a Russian ballerina that toured Australia and New Zealand, whose last name was Pavlova, I think. It's essentially a meringue,
Hmm.
like a really large meringue. So it's like egg whites whipped up to their stiff, bunch of sugar, lots of sugar put
Hmm.
in, and then that's baked. That mixture is sort of baked into like a big shell, like a cake sized meringue, pretty much. So you've got like the hard shell on the outside, and then like
Yeah.
more of a soft gooey inside, and then you put cream on top, and then you put some fruit on top of that. So um, most of the time it'd be berries, so like strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. You put those on top and
Hmm.
have that as a dessert. So I'd say that's probably my favorite dessert if I had to pick one.
That sounds amazing. And now I'm gonna Google and
Yeah,
YouTube this, and
Google a pavlova.
yeah, I'm gonna find out what this is, man. So it's been
Yeah.
such an honor to have this talk with you, man. I know it's late night over there. You're in the
No,
future.
man, I enjoyed it too. Thank you for asking me to come on.
Yeah, man. I've been listening to your stuff for like a year or 2 years, and like it's excellent stuff. And did you want to plug it?
Yeah, man. So the AW match guide, it's currently on hiatus, but it will be back. And the episodes, each episode, as Doc said, each episode we pick an AW match and deep dive into that individual match. So
Yeah.
we've done about 50 matches so far. So if you go back and you have a look at the list of matches. We look at, you know, what the build was like heading into the match. We look at the match itself and break it down, talk about the highlights, what's going on in the ring, what we loved about it, the story they were telling, go in depth, and then talk about the legacy and the performance, what happened with the performers afterwards. And every week I have a different guest on. So I've had, you know, lots of different guests from around Social Suplex, obviously, like Rich and James, Jeremy, Trish, had the Tunnel Talk guys, and then I've had people from outside of Social Suplex like Joseph Montesilio,
Yeah.
Benno from Grapple, like all sorts of folk. Ibu from Wrestle Purist, lots of different guys from roundabout you'd probably recognize if you've been around the internet wrestling community for any amount of time. And you know, because we've covered so many matches, just if you go in there, you pick a match that you loved, and you have a listen. Hopefully, you'll learn something about it. Hopefully, you get to reminisce. We might point out something because we go really in depth, right? Like we might point out something you haven't noticed before, or give you a new perspective on the match itself. So I
Yeah.
love doing it. I can't wait to get back into it at some point. I've got to wait till my life sort of eases up a little bit. Just got a lot going on at the moment. You know, I'm a 36-year-old father and husband and professional and all these other things.
Yeah.
So
You're a patriarch.
lots of other things going on in my life. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm the daddy of the family. I'm the father of the family.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to get back into it. But yeah, if you want, check that out. It's on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. You can just search AEW Match Guide for the individual feed, and you can also find me on Twitter, Sir_Samuel. As I said, most of the time I try to focus on the positives, focus on the things that I love, and the things that I'm enjoying about wrestling. Honestly, I reckon the best place to chat on about wrestling in the world at the moment is the Social Suplex Discord. It's such a nice place. You don't get that. You know, I talked about the toxicity. You don't get
Yeah.
that on the Social Suplex podcast network Discord. God, that's a tongue twister there. Because you know, if people get toxic and people start playing up, we just give them the kick. We kick them out. We don't need them. There's enough of us in there. We can get rid of them. And
Hey.
that happens from time to time if they're well, they get put on pause for a little while, as this happened earlier today in one of the channels for someone who's you know, infamous around wrestling circles, got put
Yeah.
on pause.
But you know, I knew about that 2 weeks ago. So
Oh, really? There you go.
you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, it's a
Shouts.
good place.
Shouts.
No, but it's a good place to chat, right? Like,
Yeah.
because it's got a good amount of people, so there's always some chatter going on. There's always stuff going on, and it's not just an echo chamber. There's different perspectives in there,
Yeah.
but there's enough people that you sort of know most of the people that are in there. You know the regulars,
Yeah.
and so you're not, yeah, you get a feel for someone. So if they do come out of left field, then you kind of know where they're coming from. And yeah, I just think it's a great place to speak about wrestling. It's better than Twitter, even though Twitter, you know, has got more. Sorry, I should say X, the anything app. X has got, you know, more people out there potentially, and like Blue Sky, I feel like it's a bit of an echo chamber.
Yeah.
But you know, the Discord, it's you know, it's a nice place. It's a good place to hang
Yeah.
out.
They let barbarians like me post stuff, and man,
Mate, I
it's
don't know when you sleep, Doc. When do you sleep? I feel like I could get up at any point of the day, and you would be posting on there at
uh,
some
oh
way or
I
fashion.
yeah, I sleep. Sometimes I sleep too much, but yeah, you're right. I'm pretty active, but it's
Doth protest too much, mate. Doth protest too much. Just
oh yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah, man. It's been a real pleasure, man. Thank you for joining me, and yeah, I hope to hear from you again, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah,
Anytime. Love to have another chat sometime.
yeah, bro. Thank you so much.
Cheers.